Good evening. It's 5 o'clock story time. I'm Rabbi Ed Feinstein. It's Tuesday afternoon. I hope that you are doing very well, taking very good care of yourself and members of your family, and really glad to have you here today. It's story time, and today's a very special day for a good story. Today's a Jewish holiday, not a big holiday, a small holiday. It's called Lag BaOmer. Now, the Omer are the 7 weeks between Passover and Shavuot. And during those 7 weeks, we count each day until they count up to a week. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 1 week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 2 weeks. 7 weeks, we come to Shavuot. Each day is counted, and today is the 33rd day. Lag Lamed is 30, and Gimel is 3. Lag BaOmer is 33rd day. And today is considered a sort of nice holiday in this because the Omer is typically considered a sort of sad time. Nobody's really sure why it's a sad time, but it's considered a sad time. And during this time, during this sort of sad time, this day is considered a sort of a happier time. And while there are lots of traditions about why this is a happy or a sad time, all of them revolve around the life and the career of a very special rabbi whose name was Rabbi Akiba. Rabbi Akiba lived in the 2nd century, about 125 or so. And this is 2020. You can figure out how many years ago that was, about 1,900 years ago. And he was the greatest rabbi in the world at the time, and probably the greatest rabbi in the world who ever lived. He was the guy who took all of the teachings of the great rabbis about the Torah and put them together in a way that everybody could understand them and everybody could observe them and make them special. And so Rabbi Akiba is remembered this time during the Omer. Some people say that what happened was that there was a terrible sickness that came to all of his students, and on Lag BaOmer it went away. And other people talk about his career and his life during this time, how he had to hide in order to teach Torah. When I was a little kid, we used to have little camping trips because we would go hiding in the caves and the mountains in the same way that Rabbi Akiba's students used to go hide. So let's tell a story about Rabbi Akiba. In the Talmud, it's a great big book of Jewish wisdom. There is a marvelous story about how Rabbi Akiba got to be Rabbi Akiba. How do you get to be the greatest rabbi in the world? That's a really interesting question. So the story is that he was once not a rabbi. In fact, he was once a guy who couldn't even read. He couldn't even write his name. He was just a shepherd. He was good with sheep and goats, but he wasn't good with books. But his boss was a man named Kalba Savua. It's a funny name. It means happy dog. I don't think that really was his name. I think that may have been a nickname that people called him. But Kalba Savua had a beautiful daughter named Rachel. And Kalba Savua dreamed that one day his daughter would marry a great man, maybe a great scholar, maybe a great leader. But Rachel, she had special eyes and a special heart. And she went out and found Rabbi Akiba. She found Akiba. He was just a shepherd. He wasn't a rabbi yet. Just a shepherd taking care of sheep. And she saw inside of him that he could be a great man. So she said to him, Akiba, do you love me? And Akiba was just struck in love. He said, of course I love you. I love you with all my heart. If only we could be married. Akiba, I'll marry you, but on one condition. Anything, he said. She said, anything. Anything, he said. The condition is you go to school and you learn. But Rachel, I'm a grown-up. I can't learn. School is for kids. What am I supposed to learn? I want you to go learn the Torah. I want you to become a rabbi. I want you to become great and a leader. I can't do that. I'm just a shepherd. What am I supposed to do? You go to school. I believe in you. And so it was, that they got married in secret. And when Kalba Savua, her father, found out that his daughter ran away with a shepherd, not a rabbi, not a scholar, not a leader, just a plain old shepherd, a guy who was good with sheep, he got so angry he said, out of my house, get out of my house. And they had to go live in a barn somewhere. And they lived together And they had nothing. They slept in the straw in a barn with all the animals. And they were very, 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 very poor. But they were happy and they loved each other. And then Kiba and Rachel, they had a baby. And when that baby was 3 years old and it was time for that baby to go to school, Rachel said, Akiba, take your son to school and stay there with him until you've learned. I can't stay there. I'm a grown-up. He's a child. How am I going to go to school? How are you going to get anything into my hard head? Akiba, do you love me? Of course I love you. I love you with all my heart. Then go to school. So the story is that Akiba went to school with his 3-year-old son, and they sat together at a tiny little table on a tiny little chair, on tiny little chairs. And the teacher said, this is an aleph, the first letter of the alphabet, and this is a bet, the second letter of the alphabet. And Akiba came home so excited, and he said to Rachel, I've learned aleph and a bet. She said, go back and learn the rest of the letters. I can't learn all the letters. I'm a grown-up. How am I going to learn? Akiba, do you love me? With all my heart, he said. Then go to school. So he went back and he spent the rest of the week in school and he learned all the letters. And he came back and said, now I've learned the letters. I don't have to go back anymore. I know the letters now. Oh, Akiba, there's so much more to learn. Go back to school. And he said, but I can't. How can I put any more in my head? My head is so crowded with all the letters, with the aleph and the bet and the gimel and the dalet. There's no room for anything else. Akiba, do you love me? Of course I love you. I love you with all my heart. Then go to school. So Akiba went back to school for the rest of the year and he learned how to read. And he began reading the books of the Torah. And he came back and said, okay, I can read now. I'm learning the Torah. Good. That's just the beginning. Now you have to learn everything the rabbis have to teach. But I can't. I'm a grown-up. And she didn't even have to say it this time. She just gave him that look. Do you love me? And he went back to school. In fact, he went back to school for 7 years. He went to school for 7 years and didn't come home. And Rachel had to raise her son all by herself. And it was very hard. And when anybody said, where is your husband? Where did he go? She said, he's learning in school. He's going to become a great man. And you know what? He came back and he was ready to see her. And he heard her speaking to somebody who said, where is your husband? And she said, he's in school. And they said, how long's he been in school? For 7 years. And she said, oh, I would be happy if he stayed another 7 years. So he went back and stayed another 7 years. And he became Rabbi Akiba, the greatest teacher in the world, the greatest scholar of Torah in the world, the greatest thinker of Jewish thoughts in the world. And the story is that he came to town one day and he had 12,000 students with him, and he was carried like a king on a throne, and they put him on a stage. And Rachel was told, this great rabbi is coming, but she didn't know it was him. So she baked a challah to bring to the great rabbi. And she kept her eyes down because she was very humble. And she came to the great rabbi, and she stood in front of the great rabbi and said, great rabbi, I bring you this present. We haven't much in my house, but I hope you enjoy this sweet challah. It's my present so that you can learn and teach the world Torah. And he looked down and said, do you have a husband, woman? He pretended not to know her, but he knew who she was. And she didn't know who he was because she didn't believe that that could be Akiba. She said, well, I do have a husband. And where is your husband? Said the great rabbi. He's learning in school. And does this make you angry? No, I'm so glad he's learning because I know that his soul is great and his mind is powerful and his hands are gentle And I know that he can bring Torah to the world, and that's what we want most of all. And then Akiba looked down and said, Rachel, do you love me? She looked up into his eyes, and it wasn't just a great rabbi. It was Akiba. He was the great rabbi. He was the great rabbi. And she grabbed him and he grabbed her, and they hugged and they began to cry. And the students thought something was wrong, and they came to take her away, and he said, stop. Everything I know and everything I've taught you, all the Torah that's in my heart and all the wisdom that's in my mind comes from her. She's the one. And everyone said, wow, that's the reason he is Akiba, because Rachel loved him so much. And then you know what happened next? Her father came, and her father didn't know it was him. Her father didn't know it was him. And he came, and his eyes were also cast down, and he was crying and crying. And the rabbi said, what's wrong, man? What's wrong, old man? Why are you crying? And the man said, because I did something so foolish. Years ago, my daughter married a silly man, a stupid, uneducated, foolish shepherd, and I got so angry, and I threw her out, and I miss her so badly. I even miss him. He was a good boy. I shouldn't have done that, and I said something so mean. I shouldn't have done that. Rabbi, please help me find forgiveness and bring my children home. Please, please. And Akiba said, and if you would know that your son-in-law had become a scholar, oh, whether he's a scholar or not, I love them, they're my children. Then rise up, Kalba Savua, for I am your son-in-law, and here is your daughter, and we give you forgiveness. And they became a family again. And Akiba took all the money that Kalba Savua could give him, and they lived in a beautiful home. And he bought her a very special crown. It's a crown called Yerushalayim Shel Zahav. It was a beautiful crown that looked like the city of Jerusalem. And she lived like a queen because she gave Akiba all the power to teach Torah in the world. So, if there's somebody you love, whether that person's a boy or a girl, a man or a woman, if there's someone you love, you tell them, go to school. And if they say, I don't want to go to school, I can't learn, I can't do this, just look at them and say, do you love me? And if they say, yes, I love you, then go to school. That's the story of how Rabbi Akiba became Rabbi Akiba, and how all of us who know anything in the world became the people we are. It's because someone loved us enough to send us to grow and to learn and to become the people we are. And today we say thank you to all those people. I wish you a good Lag BaOmer. Go get a haircut. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. Have a good night. Thank you to everyone who joined us today for this Tuesday afternoon story. Lunch and Learn tomorrow at 12:30 for grown-ups. Services tonight at 6, tomorrow morning at 7:30, and of course on Shabbat. And this Shabbat is a very special Shabbat because this Shabbat, after we have Kabbalat Shabbat at 5 o'clock, at about 5:45, we're going to welcome all of the kids who are graduating high school for a special ceremony celebrating their graduation. Please join us and help us celebrate all these wonderful kids. To Douglas and Mark and Howard and Pearl and Matt and Michael and Emily and all the kids who have watched today, have a great day.